You've been learning about the budget template. It's now time to actually dive in and start putting information into the template. So we're going to start on the Start Here tab. If you don't have the template already, make sure you click here to download it. And otherwise, right after this, we're going to jump right in and begin at the Start Here point. And into the template we go. We are on the budget template. We're finally inside of it, and we're going to get to know exactly what we can do here on the Start Here tab. And this is the beginning of the budget template journey. So if you're inside of the playlist that will take you through the rest of it, it will teach you all the rest of the playlist. It has all the rest of the tabs and everything else you can do. You can also go backwards, learn how to download the template. You can learn about the template, the full overview, and also you can take a peek into what buckets are in full detail if you don't already know what those are. So here we are at Name Your Accounts, the Start Here tab. First thing that we'll want to understand is that these are divided by sections. You have income, you have debts, household-related expenses, bucket accounts, weekly budget list 1, weekly budget list 2, and withholdings. Now, these should cover most of your everyday expenses, as well as your monthly, yearly, and all other expenses. If there's any other categories that you ever think of that I have not included here, please make sure you reach out to me and we will get those taken care of. Make sure they're added in for next year or update everyone if it's something that more people need. So with this, let's go into what each of these is in a little bit more depth, and then I'll show you exactly what we do here because the process is actually really easy once we understand it. So the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to think through your year and decide what kind of income you typically make. So income that people make typically involves your salaried wages or hourly wages that you make. It will involve interest that you earn from a bank. It will involve any reimbursements that you receive from people. Maybe you paid for something and they're paying you back. It's not the true income, but it is income nonetheless. You may have investments. You might have anything else that you do, anything on the side. It could be income. You may have different people in the family working, and you might want to track their salaries or wages differently. And so you can do that as well. Here you have income that's subject to personal withholdings and income that's not subject to personal withholding. And to go over what that exactly means in very simple terms, if it's subject to personal withholding, that means that you're going to take a part of that income and do something with it every time you receive it, no matter where it's from. So for example, every time I get paid, I want to take a little bit out for savings. Or every time I earn interest, I want to take some out for savings. Anytime I make some money on YouTube or a side project, I want to put that money in savings based on a certain amount that I've set for myself. So that's what this is. And a lot of times, if you don't have a withholding, if you're not putting any of that into savings, or you're doing that in another way, for example, if you have your employer already just splitting your paycheck to savings and non, and you're not seeing savings ever in your budget here, that's fine. You won't need to even worry about this. If there's no withholdings, they all act the exact same. If it is not subject to personal withholding, obviously it's the exact opposite. You're not taking any of that money out. You're basically saying it's a reimbursement. That's what I typically put in here. I just got some money back for paying for something for a friend. I don't want to take part of that and put it in savings. I've already done that on that money. I just want that money back. So that's what I would put there. Debts are fairly obvious. Anything that you have in terms of debts. So in 2016, here are some of the things that my wife and I listed on our debts. We had American Express card, Discover card, MasterCard. We also had personal car loans. We had 2 of them. We had student loans. We had 2 of those as well. There was a lot in our debt list. It was absurd. So you may have more than that. I understand. It's something that we all get into as we get started in life, and it lasts with us for a long time if we don't tackle it early. So don't feel bad no matter what stage you're in. Debt is debt, and you can take care of it. We have our household-related expenses. Now, these are going to be expenses that come every month, and you know exactly how much they cost. So, for example, I have a mortgage that I pay, and I pay that every single month. It includes all of my balance. It includes any insurance that I'm paying. It includes my HOA. It includes taxes. But that mortgage is a set number, and I pay that every single month regardless. It never changes. It's always the same. And so that would be a household related expense. Another one of those for me would be like my internet bill. I actually include my utilities in here, even though they fluctuate. Some people will like to put those in their bucket accounts, but I put those in the household related expenses because I generally know that they come in below $60. So I can budget in for $60 and I can allow those to fluctuate just a little bit. And when they break the bank, they don't go over by too much. I mean, in the harshest winter, which we're having right now, sometimes my gas bill will go up to about $70, $74, which means that I have to finagle $14 around in my budget when that happens, but it never really kicks me over. So I can put those in there as well. Basically anything that comes through on a monthly basis. Other examples, Hulu, Amazon, sorry, not Amazon Prime. That is not an example. Hulu, Netflix, some of those that come through at a set monthly rate every single month. Amazon Prime, you pay on a yearly basis typically, unless you're paying for it monthly, then you can put it there. But for that, I'd put it in a bucket account because it is a yearly amount. And I'll talk about buckets now. So bucket accounts are going to be anything that you're putting money in and saving for, even if you don't know how much you need later. So for example, if my roof goes down on my house and something happens to it and I have to replace the whole thing, I'm probably going to need a good $7,000 to $10,000 depending on the area that I live in. Maybe even more depending on the size of my house, maybe a little bit less depending on the size of my house. However, I know that it's going to be a lot. So one of my buckets might be a household repair fund. I never know when I'm going to need it, but I want to put money in there every single month. Now, I've compared this before in the bucket accounts video to the cash envelope system, which a lot of people know about. But if you're putting money into this bucket for a roof repair, someday that means you've got a $5,000 to $10,000 envelope sitting around in your house full of money for home repairs in the next 5 to 10 years. And I don't think you want that much money sitting around. So the bucket account was created in order to help you segregate your money and determine different uses for it. So some examples of this would be car repair, home repair, like I said, your Amazon account. So you pay $100 or whatever it might be every year. I don't actually even know the total amount. I have it on my budget, but you would then take that and put in the amount every single month so that at the end of the year you could pay for it. I know I get a discount on my trash service if I pay for it all in one lump sum at the beginning of the year. So what I'll do is I'll save up all year so that I'm ready at the beginning of the year to just make that large payment and it doesn't rock my financial situation. That's what bucket accounts are for. So weekly budget list 1 and 2, they may or may not be used by you depending on what you do. But weekly budget list 1 is the one that I do use. And I don't even change the names of these. I leave them as week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 because they are specifying a week that I'm just making a one-time transfer. And so what you might decide to do is take your weekly grocery budget or other things that you spend on a rapid basis, and you might separate those into a separate, almost bucket of itself, into a separate checking account. So my wife and I have 2 checking accounts. We have the primary account and the secondary account. And the secondary account is the weekly budget. So my wife knows that whatever's in that account, she can spend on groceries, food, fun, when we go to eat out, anything along those lines. We used to include our car gas in there, but as of right now, we're not. But that may change at any time. We could always put it back in because I didn't want to go in every single day and track $1 spent for Mountain Dew, 50 cents spent for buying a treat on the stand, $2.50 for running out and buying milk. It just got frustrating. So we put it all into one bucket and we realized that if we just have it in an account, we watch that number. And if we buy too much when we go out to the movies and we buy popcorn and we can't afford milk that week, we hold out and we wait until the next week for it to refill and we do it all over again. So that is our weekly budget list 1 that we use. And again, I leave those as weeks 1 through 6. I've never used week 6 because there's typically not a 6th week in the year. I guess that could happen someday if some crazy something happens, or if you have a reason for it, I put it in there. Then you've got your weekly budget list 2. It does the same thing. You may want a 3rd checking account if you run a separate hobby or a business or something on the side that's more of a personal nature. You might want to include that on your personal budget. I've never used it, but I put it there because I figured someday it might be useful. Withholdings are how much you want to take out from those income amounts that you've put up above. So there's 3 places for percentages and 3 places for dollar amounts. Some examples of this would be if you want to pay to a tithing or charity every single month, on your income, if you want to pay towards savings every single month on your income, if you have any sort of childcare or other things that you're having withheld from your income, you could put that in here to track that and make sure that you're getting the right amounts built up and saved off to the side for that. And it's just automatically taking that out of your budget for you. So just to sum this up here, what you would do is this is the tab that you will change all of the names. So if you look at the January of 2017 tab, you can open up your income line and you'll notice it says income 1 through 7 and 8 through 10. Those correspond with the start here, 1 through 7 and 8 through 10. You will never change the names of your debts or your incomes or your personal withholdings, household related expenses, bucket accounts over here. What you'll do is you'll always go back to the Start Here tab and you will change it here. So I'll put Quincy's income. And once I do that, I can roll over to the January tab and I see that Quincy's income is now a part of the income. For my debts, I'll put credit card. And if I jump back over, I can see that it's credit card. And this will roll throughout the budget template. And we'll come back to this tab and you'll learn more about it later, but you don't change the names here. The initial buckets tab, it also will fall over into here if you've named any of the buckets. Also into the bucket accounts tab. And in your expense tracker, these also become categories. You'll see Quincy's income is right here as a category. So it's very important that you change the names in the Start Here tab. So what I would do next is I would look through my current financial situation through the last year, through the last month, and just determine some of the types of expenses that have come up, and I would begin to put them into here so that I can start planning for them in January of 2017 or whatever month that it is, the starting tab here. And if it's not January currently and you're on one of these budget templates, I will be showing you when we get to this tab, which is going to be in approximately 2 videos because I believe I'm going to do one for initial buckets, even though it's very short, and then one for January or the monthly, yearly tab. I will show you how to build that out so that you can start wherever you need to start. But that's the Start Here tab. Go ahead and think through your information and start to enter that in. The budget template is yours for free. Again, if you're just watching this and you haven't downloaded it yet, it is absolutely free. Go check out the site, and it's yours today. That's how you name your accounts, and that's how you get this budget template ready to start loading your information in. You've got that down now. What I would do is go back and think on your past year like I just said, and think about all the things that could possibly show up on your budget and start naming them. You're probably going to forget some. I do. I know that I always forget a few items or different categories, and I have to go back and I have to add them in and then rebalance my budget whenever I think of those things. It's not a big deal as long as you can get them in and you can find places where you can move your money around and you can plan those dollars exactly where they need to go and reallocate them. Not a big deal. So make sure you're thinking those things through. There are lots of things that we pay on an annual basis or every 6 months or every so often that we might forget about, and we should start putting small amounts into those bucket accounts and get those bucket accounts ready to go by naming them. A few would be like your car insurance. You may pay it on a monthly basis or every 6 months to save money. Like I said earlier, my trash service, Amazon Prime, there are lots of examples. Think it through and start adding those accounts into your budget template today. Thank you for watching. I'm extremely glad to have you here. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up. For more awesome videos, make sure you are subscribed.